Sims Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble. He's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught!
Denver! Unbelievable!
And welcome to the fourth down Fiasco!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for all things football, including the European League of Football, which I feel like at this point we can just call ourselves the flag station, you know? If you love the European League of Football, you probably come see us, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. With me, as always, are the rising stars of the podcast industry, the man who his Vikings look incredibly scary right now, Danny Weber, and the man whose team doesn't, you know, they're not around anymore like my team, you know. Tanner Vinsky, say hello to the people real quick.
Hey.
Hello. My name's Jordan Pryor, and yes, we ask that, as always, you rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's the best way for us to grow the show. You know, since this is the European League of Football edition of the show, let us know where you're commenting from. You know, if it's somewhere in Europe, we'd love to hear it. If it's somewhere in North Africa, you know, or, you know, Middle East, you're in Turkey, who cares? We want to know, okay? And if you're in the States, let us know what state, because we still care.
We love everyone.
What was that?
We love everyone.
We do love everyone around these parts. And last but not least, make sure that you check out our new sponsor, BetStamp. BetStamp has a wide variety of sports books and all kinds of deals. You can check them out at signupexpert.com/fiasco, because we have our own URL these days, baby. But with that, we have so much to dive into. And for those of y'all listening, yes, we have started, at least for the semifinals and the championship game of the ELF. We will be splitting up the pods. So if you want to listen to some NFL talk, go check out the other episode. Yes. But yeah, the semifinal games, man, it's fun.
They were fire, and pun intended.
I see what you did. Yeah.
But sadly, we're not going to start with the fire, because that was the Sunday game. We're going to start with my team and the Vienna Vikings defeating the Paris Musketeers and our boy Magic Zach Edwards 47-31.
Yeah.
In a very high-powered offensive game. Almost 1,000 total yards.
Yeah, you know, high scoring. I actually thought for a little bit that Paris would make that comeback, but that final interception from Zach was just kind of the nail in the coffin. And you know, I know that he had 3 interceptions on this game, but that dude was getting hit every play. The fact that he had 363 yards and 4 touchdowns and an additional one on the ground goes to show just how, like, he left it all out on the field. But
yeah, he did. And he is Magic Edwards for a reason. Some of his escapes that he did were ungodly. There was one, I sent you guys the clip on our text thread, but he got hit, spun around, got hit again, spun out of that, and somehow he literally just like shot it like a basketball instead of like a throw. He just like flipped the ball, ended up going like 10 yards, and ended up getting a first down on like 3rd and 7.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, you know, the big difference between Paris and Vienna, or, you know, even Paris and I would say Stuttgart and Rhine to a degree, is their defense just isn't there, man. You know, because 31 points should win you a playoff game. And, you know, yeah, again, there are issues. I think that there's also Paris's offensive line just isn't as good as Vienna's offensive line, or as good as Stuttgart and Rhine's offensive line, but they're good enough that they can still put up a ton of points. But dude, the defense just got torched. Ben Holmes, 23 of 40, 385 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also had a rushing touchdown too. He was 5 attempts for 70 yards, which is something we have not seen all season from Ben Holmes. So crazy stuff, man.
Ben Holmes had an amazing game.
He read the MVP article and said, "Oh, you think I'm one-dimensional?" So Hey, Ben, if you're listening, that's okay. Talk your shit.
Yeah, that 3rd and 15 run to start the game, first down. Then his 31-yard rushing touchdown, crazy. Almost untouched into the end zone.
Well,
he's quicker than I thought he was.
And Paris's defense definitely panicked once they realized, oh shit, he runs too. And like, it's not like whenever Peyton Manning used to run and he'd be like, oh my God, like you really gave Peyton Manning 10 yards to go run. Like Ben actually looks semi-athletic out there. I was like, why haven't you been running all season? But I guess if your offensive line's as good as Vienna's, you don't have to.
He hasn't needed to.
Yeah. But yeah, there was definitely a moment of panic. Yeah. With that 3rd and 15 run early on when he got the first down, and you could see just like the wheels in Paris's like defense's head turning of like, oh shit, we're going to have to deal with that too.
Yeah. But shout out to the Vienna receiving core. Reese Horn, 8 for 167 and a touchdown.
Beer bomber.
Making his, I guess, comeback, even though he's been here almost all season. 8 receptions, knocking on the door of 100 yards, finishing with 99, but got his hat trick. 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And then my offensive rookie of the year, Noah Torre, 4 of 88. And one amazing grab, fully extended over the head, great catch, and then ended up hurting himself. I think he knocked the wind out of himself, but it was a great catch.
Yeah. Yeah. And, something that I noticed from Vienna's defense is, Vumbo, who absolutely just ran up and down the field against Munich and looked unstoppable, damn near looked almost like our boy Tunga out there against Munich. Very ineffective, 9 attempts, 28 yards. That was it. He had 1 catch for 5 yards. Wasn't breaking any tackles. It was as soon as they got their hands on him, he went down. And that's a big body to take down. Vumbo's a big guy.
That makes me feel excited for Glenn Tunga again. Because we weren't watching it, but in 2022, they held Glenn Tunga to 7 yards in the first half of the championship game. They have new people. It's a new defense. But if anyone knows how to stop Glenn Tunga, it is this coach and this offense, like these coaches. They've done it before.
Oh, yeah. Vienna's rush attack they are so good at stopping the run. So, no, yeah, this was a statement win. And especially with, they started off hot. They were whooping Paris's ass in the first half, 21-6 at halftime. Paris got hot in the second half. Yeah. And
2 big touchdowns.
Yeah, 2 insane touchdowns, one of which were, Edwards escaped and damn near got crushed in the process and then, just flung a 50-yard ball on the money.
We said Edward needed to make throws, and he made throws this game.
He made throws, and there definitely was a turnover issue with him. Again, 3 interceptions. He also lost a fumble, too.
2 picks were tipped. I'll give him that.
2 picks were tipped, correct. But the last one wasn't tipped. That one was just a bad pass. And so it's I think that if you can give Paris a formidable defense, because their defense looked like dog water overall. If you can give Paris a formidable defense, Zach Edwards is good enough that you can win a championship game with. He is a phenomenal quarterback. And I would also say if you're Paris this offseason, I'm looking at how do we use some of our imports to get some Samoans on that line. They need some big boys. They were very much so outsized on that offensive line.
I will also say for Paris, keep your offense on the field. Mm-hmm. The time of possession was 41 minutes to 18 minutes.
Well, it was hard because it was, whenever Paris did score, it'd be because it was a 50-yard bomb, because
they started the game off with a big pass, and then Austin Mitchell got that 6-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. But my only worry about the Vikings in this game, and in 2 weeks, the championship game, their DBs did not look good. They could not tackle. They could not stay on a guy. Busted coverages. And that it hasn't been like that all season, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't know why this game, compared to all the other games, they just forgot how to play defensive back.
Well, I'll say this, at the end of the day, yes, 2 of those interceptions were tipped, but if you have corners that have natural ball instincts, that is invaluable because that means unless you're throwing a perfect ball every time and a ball never gets tipped, there's always a potential that, interceptions can happen. And Zach Edwards is the best quarterback I think that they've faced all season. And this is no offense to Jadrian Clark. I think he's better than Jadrian Clark too. So, I think that they will play better in the championship against Jadrian than they did against Zach, who, is built like Cam Newton. He's 6'5". He's 245 pounds. He's fast. He's athletic. He's agile. He has a rocket for an arm.
But yeah, especially if Jadrian played like he did on Sunday, Vienna's defensive back should not have an issue. But another big thing is the height of the Musketeers wide receivers gave them a big issue, especially the Vikings DBs, because they have LaRose and Mahangu, who are both, I think, like 6'5", and I don't think the Vikings DBs are anywhere over 6'1".
No.
So any jump ball, Paris won.
No, yeah. I mean, yeah, Paris has very good offensive talent. So, if I were you, Danny, I would not be discouraged even with the DBs.
No, I'm not.
At the end of the day, they still got 3 interceptions on an MVP candidate.
Yeah. And if your quarterback can put up 450 yards plus and then 6 touchdowns, I'm fine with that. Wouldn't you agree, Tanner?
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
Not really. I think y'all kind of just covered it. I mean,
that's fair.
Yeah.
But did you think Vienna was going to win this? I forget what we talked about last week.
Yeah. No, Vienna was definitely a much better team than Paris. I'm glad Paris kept it close. Mm-hmm. I really didn't. I didn't think it was actually going to be this close. I thought Vienna was probably going to blow them out a little bit more than this.
They kind of should have walked away with it, and they started to, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I guess winning by 16 isn't enough.
Yeah, it just felt like Vienna was still like a shoulder above,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where it felt like they took their foot off the gas towards the end a little bit, which,
definitely.
Is why Paris was able to come back and make it close. And yeah, Paris has got to figure out the defensive stuff because their defense looked absolutely atrocious on Saturday.
Yeah.
Dang. I was really hoping that the Musketeers would figure it out, though.
That's okay. Next year. But let's move on to the rematch of last year's ELF championship game, the Rhine Fire and the Stuttgart Surge, and the whatever tsunami hit them in the fourth quarter and overtime.
And I was just again talking about Jadrian Clark and all this other stuff. Hey, he broke the fourth down fiasco curse. I was worried for them because I was like, really, we are going to have another instance where we interview somebody and then they lose the following week.
That tweet had so much interaction on it. Matt was blaming us. Michael was blaming us. Justin was blaming us. Everyone was blaming us. Mm-hmm. Just because the score was 20-10 in like the second quarter.
I mean, it didn't look good for.
It didn't look good.
No. Well, and here's the thing. I don't know what Ryan's what adjustments they made, but man, they gave Hennessy fits in the second half because all 3 of his interceptions came in the second half, right?
One came in the first, and a fumble at like the 10-yard line from the running back, which was really costly.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, though, this was a phenomenal game. I want to give some flowers to Stuttgart's defense because, I mean, yeah, Glenn Tunga had 138 yards rushing, but it was on 28 carries and he had no touchdowns. So, I mean, they essentially, as we say, kept it all in front of them the whole time. They were like, hey, you're going to get your yardage. We can't stop that. But what we can make sure is that you're not going to break off one of these big ones and burn us for a 65.
And he did not.
And he did not. So Stuttgart's defense came to play. It just sucks that, down the stretch with all the picks.
No, yeah. Hennessy was the most efficient quarterback all season up until this game. Mm-hmm. I don't know. His last 2 picks, I don't know what he was thinking. Yeah, it was bad. And then it was a little Seattle Seahawks-esque, 2-yard line in the rain. You have a running back that, he went for 22 of 88, so not the most efficient, but he was still getting positive yardages every time. And what do you do in the pouring rain? I know the Super Bowl is inside, but they decided to throw the ball on the 2-yard line with a big, powerful running back. Mm-hmm. And the same outcome happened as a pick.
Yep. Yeah, man. I will say, number one, the rush from Ryan was really getting to Hennessy. And number two, and I've talked about them before, the 3-headed dragon that Ryan has is in their secondary between Omari Williams, Jansen, and Tony Anderson. Those 3 dudes are absolutely disgusting. Omari Williams, of course, having a pick. Jansen had 2. Tony Anderson didn't have any today, but had multiple pass deflections and was shutting dudes down. What was considered, wasn't Stuttgart the second most efficient offense overall, too, behind Vienna?
Yeah. Anderson did have a couple bad plays, and those were costly plays. I think 2 of the touchdowns were off of Anderson missed tackles.
Okay.
So he didn't have his best game, but he still is there. He's still
a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
And Jansen and Omari Williams too. When you have all 3 of them together, it's like, God, who do you throw at?
Yeah, honestly. But and then you can say kind of the same thing on the Surge defensive side with Fettig. Who else is there? Forget their other line defensive back. Their safety. I don't know. But yeah, their safeties as well are all over the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame someone had to lose this game. It was a really good game.
This might have been the best game of the season.
And just sucks for Hennessy that he had to most likely end his career throwing 3 picks.
He'll be back. There's no way he's going to end on that note.
I think he's done.
Nah, he's coming back.
He wanted to be done last year.
Let me call up my boy real quick, and be like, hey, yo, hen dog, how we feeling? You coming back? I'm not going to ask him right now because I'm sure that might still sting. But I'll ask him in a couple of weeks whenever the sting has subsided.
Like a month and a half after the championship game?
Yeah, and, if he says no, then fuck it. I'll convince him. I will. I have no... Just like how Matt Bresington was able to get stats changed for the ELF, screw it. I'll convince Riley
Hennessy to unretire.
Yeah, I'll be like, listen here, Tom. It's time for you to come back for one more ride with the Buccaneers, okay?
One more ride.
Yeah. Be like, hey, you'll be 29 this upcoming season, so you can say you played until you were 30, basically. It'll be great.
Yeah, easy. But is that all we got for this one? Besides that, it was a shame for someone to lose.
Yeah, I guess we can go through and just kind of give some flowers. Jadrian Clark did what he needed to do. Not the most prolific stat line, but still, 19 of 34 for 186, 3 touchdowns. Did have the 1 pick, the pick 6, which is actually when that pick 6 happened was whenever I thought that they were going to lose, and I thought that our curse was bad. So hey, shout out Jadrian Clark for, even despite throwing a pick 6 and having the 4th down fiasco curse just looming over him, figuring out a way to win.
Because, Hennessy threw a pick to absolutely no one on his team. He threw it straight to the fire guy. And then, 2 plays later, Jadrian Clark did the exact same thing.
Yeah, and it got returned back. And, it was at that point I was like, ooh, we might really have some bad juju going on here on the fourth down fiasco.
But we don't broke it. Yeah.
Yes, thank goodness, because our friends would not have let us live that one down for sure.
I don't think players would come on our podcast anymore.
Yeah. So I'm glad we were able to get over that one. But yeah, overall, I mean, if you just look at the stats of this game, it was a very well balanced game for the most part. We're talking. Ryan was averaging 4.43 yards per play, whereas Stuttgart was doing 4.48. Time of possession, there was about a 7-minute difference, but it's nothing too crazy. Both teams caused multiple turnovers. Stuttgart had less penalties, but Ryan had, the greater time of possession, more first downs. But yeah, just a great game, top to finish. Like I really enjoyed this one. I actually watched this kind of in and out while I was at church. I was like, I had it on in the background, and we have a little like charger cord for my phone in the back. And so like in between stuff where the kids were having to do things, I was like peeking over. I was like, ooh, that's going on. So definitely a very entertaining game. Do we want to predict the championship game between the Rhine Fire and the Vienna Vikings? Danny, since you're the only one who has a team that's still in it right now, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling great. They're coining it the Battle of the Champions because they both won a championship.
Fair enough.
They'll be whoever wins this will be the first team in ELF history to win 2 championships.
Crazy.
Yeah, early history, I guess.
Yeah, who's going to be the first dynasty? I feel like kind of on this game right now.
It's the Vienna Vikings all day, every day. Ben Holmes, baby. Hashtag Ben VP.
Hashtag Ben VP.
Glenn Tuga's going to win his MVP Saturday night, and then he'll watch Ben Holmes just obliterate the Rhine Fire and then just walk across the field and hand it to him after the game.
Okay, Danny. Oh, I can see the vision. Tanner, who do you have in the game?
I've been really high on Ryan the entire year, and it feels weird that they're finally at the finals, and I'm going to pick against them. But I don't know. Vienna's just played so well this year, and I've kind of picked against Vienna a decent amount this year, and every time they've kind of told me to, go fuck myself, and they're going to win anyways. So, I think I'm going to ride it out with Vienna. I think they just have the more complete team at this moment. And, I think Tunga's going to ball out still, but it's going to be, I think this is going to be a really close game, and I'm glad it's between these two because these are the 2 best teams in the ELF. Yeah. And as much as I would like to say that Madrid was the only team to beat Ryan this year, I don't think it's going to end up happening.
Can I say one thing before you pick?
Sure.
Everybody was talking about how, the Vienna Vikings haven't played any good teams. Ben Holmes against the only good team they played, as in the Tyrol Raiders. They go against Paris, and he puts up 450 yards and 6 touchdowns. And that just made Jordan leave because how mad he was that I just said that.
It was too absurd.
I know. He was just so mad that I just brought up stats that they're like, Ben Holmes can't play tough teams, blah, 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 blah. And he just proved everyone wrong. So,
I mean, that's fair. No, it's going to be really hard to choose because it's difficult to bet against Glenn Tunga because, again, we're talking about, facing what would be the 3rd best team in the ELF. We were talking about they did such a great job against him, and he still went off for 138 yards, and so it's just like he is inevitable. He is Thanos. But at the same time, dude, Ben Holmes has just been wildly good all season. And, with him actually using his legs and waiting until now, there is 1 game worth of game footage of him running. in the ELF at least. I can't attest to like his college career or stuff like that. But as far as the ELF, there is one game's worth of footage that they can break down and say, oh, well, you look out for these looks. Like there's just not enough.
If you're on the fence, I have another bombshell to drop. I was going to use it on Tanner if he needed to. You guys might have forgot about this guy. Jordan Bois.
Is he going to be back for the championship game?
Will be participating to an extent in this championship game. Most likely.
I mean, hell, even if you can use him as a decoy, that's in and of itself is value. Yeah. The only thing that I think that Ryan has that is better, well, aside from Glenn Tunga, that is better than what Vienna has, if we're doing a direct comparison, is again that three-headed monster in the secondary. I think that if there is a secondary that could ever give Ben Holmes fits, which seems like doesn't exist, this secondary, but if there were one, it would be Ryan's.
Well, go ahead and have your three-headed monster, but if you have Bois, Torre, Horn, and Beer Bomber,
but Beer Bomber's not going to get picked up by one of the corners or safeties. So
no, but he's going to destroy their linebackers. Oh,
for sure. I'm still going to go with Ryan.
All right. Like
Glenn,
Matt Bresington
Glenn
said,
VP, baby. Glenn VP. Glenn Tunga is going to find a way to rush for 200 yards. He might have to carry the ball 40 times. He's going to rush for 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's going to host up the trophy at the end, and they're all going to be chanting Glenn VP, Glenn VP. So
whoever wins this game, they're chanting either Ben VP or Glenn VP.
Yeah. It will be finalized at the end of this game who gets the moniker for good. Speaking of the monikers, the MVP stuff, and everything else currently going on, I do have some updated numbers from the analyst arena. And for those of y'all who have been keeping up with the show and stuff, we brought on Matt Bresington, Alex Malchow, and Jamal Clay, basically to crown a best journalist in the European League of Football. And right now, Alex Malchow is in first place with 160 points. Matt Bresington has 155, and Jamal Clay has 120. And since none of the teams that he picked to win are, well, did he? No, he did choose Vienna to be in the championship game, but his bracket's busted, so he can't get any points off of that. So whoever wins the championship game decides whether or not if Alex or Matt win. Oh, that reminds me. We actually, that may not be true because of the MVP voting.
Because Alex decided to pick Ben VP as his MVP and not Glenn Tunga.
Yeah, so it's still going to be spicy regardless. We'll see how it shakes out in the end. But yeah, just a little update on that end. Yeah. So I'm excited for the game regardless. Danny, are you going to be in town?
Yeah.
Cool. Can I come over?
Yeah. Cool. It's at 7:15 on a Sunday.
Ooh, 7:15. Ooh.
Yeah, come on over.
I might have to watch that one from home while I get ready for church. So, cool. Any last thoughts before we end the show, y'all?
Go Vienna. Go Kiki. She called it from the beginning of the preseason. She's like, we're going to the championship game.
Yeah. Shout out Kiki Klepsch, the homie. Kiki, do you love me? Are you riding? Sorry.
Riding the Vikings to the championship game.
Yeah, hey, yeah. There you go. Riding the Vikings to the championship game. Well, cool. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We appreciate y'all. As always, this has been the Fourth Down Fiasco with Jordan, Danny, and Tanner. As always, we ask that you rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's the best way for us to grow the show. And in 2 weeks, we will crown the ELF Journalist of the Year, as well as, there's a little thing called the ELF Championship game that'll be happening too in 2 weeks. So, but yeah, thanks everybody. Take care.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.